One of the delusional concepts that we've allowed to penetrate society is this notion of balance. The second we think we've achieved balance, life is going to rudely slap you in the face and remind you why balance truly isn't possible.
What if your biggest pain was your greatest teacher?
You always learn the most in pain. You can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. We're all gonna die. But the question is, how am I gonna live my life before I die? Our greatest failure turns out to be our greatest success. Who are they to tell me what I'm capable of? Who are they to tell me what my life is going to look like? I'm going to let go of that fear and I'm going to step into what I think I'm truly capable of.
In your podcast studio, you're putting up quote unquote failures or other bad memories or things like that. But tell me about times where you have learned the most through quote unquote failure.
I think you always learn the most in pain. Like when you're actually in pain, you learn the most. Now, you don't notice that in the moment. In the moment, you're just feeling the pain and you don't really see the other side of it. But Steve Jobs, I think it was at the Stanford commencement speech, said one of the most powerful quotes that I've ever heard. And he said, you can never connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking backwards. But that means you have to have the courage to actually look backwards and say, wow, what was great about that? And another one of my mentors early in my journey had this slogan of, well, what's great about this? And he talked about, he had alopecia. And he said, well, what's great about this? I never have to get a haircut. I'm like, oh, that's a pretty good perspective. Like you never have to get a haircut. And so when life is kicking me in the teeth, which it does all the time, like there's days that are just like, we have 3 kids under 6. Well, our daughter just turned 6, running multiple businesses. Like it never goes as perfectly planned as we want it to go. But if you just pause in the moment and say, what's great about this, you can always find good memories in those things. And that's where I think the lessons reside. And so a lot of the things in the podcast studio or in my life in general, I like to keep the things near and dear to me that have meaning to them. And the things that have the most meaning to my life is the things that impacted me the most. And most often, the things that impact me the most hurt the worst in it. I mean, I literally was just talking to somebody earlier and I said, you never actually achieve a life you desire passively. Like nothing I've achieved in my life has come from being passive. It's always active and it's hard and it hurts and it's work. But then you look back and you're like, man, I'm so grateful for that. I mean, even I can talk about the death of one of my best friends. I was 22, 23 years old, and I lost one of my best friends. He had a pulmonary embolism, died in our friend's basement right before we went to a casino. And in that moment, I didn't know like what the point of life was. I'm like, this is stupid. Like, this is one of the healthiest kids I know, played semi-pro soccer, an amazing human being, absolutely brilliant. And he just died. Like, why? And then you start going, okay, well, why did God take him? Or what? Like you start asking all these questions, or you start going down all these paths. And in that moment, I was definitely feeling like, man, like what's the point of living? Like this is just stupid. Like, I don't get it. And after I got out of that little like pity party, if you will, I recognized that the lesson for me in that was we're all gonna die. But the question is, how am I gonna live my life before I die? And I'm not going to live it based off of this fear of, am I going to die or what's going to happen? I want to live my life of, if I die tomorrow, everybody will be able to say like, he was living an extraordinary life, regardless of what that means. And so, you're here at the ranch and I have zebras and people are like, you have zebras. I'm like, yeah, I have zebras. Like, how did you know you could buy zebras? I'm like, I didn't know I could buy zebras, but when I found out I could buy zebras, I bought 2 of them. They're like, well, why did you buy 2 of them? I'm like, why wouldn't I? Like, why not? Why not me? Someone's going to own a zebra. Why not me? Someone's going to have an extraordinary life. Why not me? And there's been a lot of failures with the zebras. Like the male zebra is an absolute prick. Like he tries to bite you. He tries to kick you. Like I've learned a ton about zebras. Now, I didn't do my research on the front end, but through the pain, I've learned a ton of stuff about zebras. I've learned a ton of stuff about animals. And even more importantly than that, I've made a ton of memories along the way. And so I try to embody those. I try to embrace those. I try to learn from them. And I try to recognize that oftentimes our greatest weakness is our greatest strength. Our greatest failure turns out to be our greatest success. It's just we can't connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect them looking back.
Yeah. I recently made a lot of changes in taking leaps of faith where previously, and I think a lot of people are like this in entrepreneurship, is they are swinging from branch to branch and they're like still holding on to a bunch of the old branches, right? Because of the safety and security of what they had gotten previously, an old business. Maybe they're running a consulting company or they're still doing side work. But what I found, and I just had to have like the courage, and through actually a lot of people in GoBundance, that encouraged me was like the path becomes clearer when you decide to take that step.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you actually let go of these other things and distractions, the path becomes clearer. And the more that you step into that power and step into the thing that you're meant to do, the doors open up, the people appear, the extra money that you needed comes into play. Like it works, right?
Yes.
And we don't learn how to ride a bike by reading about how to ride a bike.
Correct.
We learn how to ride a bike by riding the bike.
Right.
So
Right. And it was interesting. I literally this morning was having this conversation too. If you actually pause and say, what is the worst thing that could happen in my life? Oftentimes it's the reality we're living in. So if the worst thing is your exact reality today, and it's not you're in Africa looking for water for your family and having to walk 5 miles or trying to worry about some gang coming in and stealing your children or something like that. Like that's for us in America, thank goodness that's not our reality. And the worst thing that happens is like I have to have a W-2 and have to work at a job I maybe don't love. Why wouldn't you take the risks? Like your fallback plan is your current reality. So just take the risks because then at least you will not be surrounded by the ghost of regret when you die.
Yeah, I think that was recently I had never made that connection of describe the worst case scenario of you going for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, well, I would just go back and go get a job. And it's like, okay, well, you're working that job right now. So your worst case scenario is literally what you're living in right now.
Yeah.
And you're going to continue to live your days and your weeks in this worst case scenario unless you decide to change.
Yes.
Yeah. It's pretty incredible the fear that we create for ourselves in the unknown.
Yeah, and a lot of that fear, I think when you finally give yourself some compassion or some empathy or remove the judgments you have towards yourself, a lot of those fears are not actually your fears. They're fears that have been given to you by people in your life. Could be a teacher, could be a mentor, could be a boss, could be a spouse, could be a parent, could be a friend, could be the community you grew up in. They gave you those fears and you're choosing to carry them. And they're not your burden or your weight to carry. And if you want to continue to carry it, more power to you. That's your conscious choice. But the second you recognize, where did this fear come from? Well, it came from that 7th grade teacher who told me I was a failure. Okay, well, they're probably still teaching 7th grade, which is amazing. Good for them. Go teach 7th grade. But who are they to tell me what I'm capable of? Who are they to tell me what my life is going to look like? I'm going to let go of that fear and I'm going to step into what I think I'm truly capable of.
Yeah. What's the balance between trying to achieve and money and success and also living a fulfilled, happy, extraordinary life?
Yeah, I think there is no balance. I think one of the delusional concepts that we've allowed to penetrate society is this notion of balance. And I like to think of balance more like the wings of an eagle. An eagle doesn't necessarily balance. An eagle soars. And when the eagle is trying to pursue food, for instance, it will understand it needs more right wing or it needs more left wing to go get what it wants from its, for its life to eat. And so I like to look at my life as an eagle, and I like to look at my life as I'm soaring, and I don't really think about balance. I like to think about vision and the direction I'm going with my life. If I don't like it, then I might need more left wing. If I do like it, then all right wing is working for me in this moment. And I think the second we think we've achieved balance, life is going to rudely slap you in the face and remind you why balance truly isn't possible. I have a very unique perspective about money, and I don't know where I adopted this perspective from, but I truly look at money as energy. And the more I allow the money to flow through me, the more that money flows to me. And I don't know why, and I can't justify it, and I can't articulate it. But all I can tell people is if you go out tomorrow with $100 or $1,000, whatever the number is that makes you just a little bit uncomfortable, and you hand that money out to people in need at Walmart, let's say, like we did with my kids for Christmas, you will not walk out of Walmart feeling empty. You will not walk out of Walmart feeling broke. You will walk out of Walmart feeling richer than you've ever felt before because you've used money as a vehicle to bring more energy into your life and do good with it. And so for me, I am on this pursuit. Money is a vehicle for me to make extraordinary things ordinary. Like having zebras, for instance. Like money is a vehicle to allow people in my life to live extraordinarily outside of what they thought was truly possible and give them permission that they are worthy and that they do deserve it. And so I'm really not a balance chaser. I'm gonna just kind of say that I like to think of my life as just the eagle soaring. And if I don't like the direction I'm going, I just choose to soar in a different manner, and make sure that I don't get lost along the way.
Do you think most entrepreneurs are unhappy, unfulfilled?
I think most entrepreneurs are unhappy or unfulfilled because they are running from something, and they think that when they get this shiny object that they're chasing, everything that they're running from will be solved. And what they fail to recognize is once they chase that object, all of the stuff they've been running from is still going to be chasing them, like forever.
Yeah.
And so I think they're unhappy because they aren't willing to stand and face those things that they're running from and say, why am I truly running from this? Is this really something to run from? And I think that a lot of people also give the pursuit of whatever they're chasing way more meaning and way more power in their life than they should. They allow that to become their identity, and they think, once I have $1 million business, I'm an entrepreneur. Once I have this, then I'm going to get a Rolex. Once I have this, then I'm going to get this fancy shiny car. And they get lost in what the achievement is going to make them, rather than understanding that who they become along the journey is who they truly were meant to be all along.
Yeah. My mentor says that being an entrepreneur is the greatest self-improvement journey that you can go through.
Yeah.
Because that's what I think that's the end result, is you make it and you realize that you still feel the same as you did, and you thought you were going to feel a certain way. You got to the top of the mountaintop, and there's a bunch of other mountains and mountain ranges around that you either want to go climb or you don't want to climb at all. And I want to ask you more about the money flowing through you and how people that don't have that mindset can get close to that mindset. But I think when I interact with other high performers, successful people like yourself, there's a sense of calm and peace and acceptance and presence that I think that's what a lot of entrepreneurs are seeking. A lot of people, not just entrepreneurs, just people in their day-to-day life, is they want some level of peace, but we have this trap of capitalism and success and money, but then we have our own desires that we need to pay for with the money. So it's this trap. But I think what I see and what I feel is people, I think, want peace and fulfillment. And that's like the constant tension, I think, that we're feeling.
Yeah, what's ironic too is I definitely think people want peace, but by definition, an entrepreneur never chooses peace. Like, an entrepreneur is choosing to stand in the fire always, which is like the opposite of peace from my perspective. And I was journaling and reflecting the other day, and I asked myself this question, and I said, if you knew 1 year from now you would be exactly where you've always wanted to be, what would you be willing to sacrifice? How much pain would you be willing to endure? And what would you do today to get you there? And then you recognize, like, all I've ever wanted to do was have a full plate. And then once I get the full plate, all I want to do is complain about it. And so I think peace just has to have a meaning for every single person. For me, peace is total chaos all the time with endless amounts of choice and memories with my family, friends, and loved ones. For somebody else, peace might be I work a 9 to 5 and I get to punch out and don't ever have to worry about it. I get 3 weeks vacation, and when I'm on vacation, I don't check my emails. That's a beautiful, peaceful life for that person. That's not my definition of peace.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think it's about being the most authentic version of yourself. And if the most authentic version truly is you having a lot on your plate and you can still be present for your family and your kids and your business, then maybe that is peace for you, right? But for a lot of others, I don't think it is.
No.
And so this concept of, because I believe you, and I mean, I agree with you with, when money flows through you, it comes back to you, and it's a source of energy. But there's people that are probably listening to this and don't really understand what that means, and don't understand the concept of like giving and letting go, and that a lot of people's money mindset is around scarcity and gripping onto money. I actually, there's a episode I did about this where, like, money doesn't want to be gripped onto, right? Do you want to be gripped onto? You should be let go. You should let it be free. And so how do you talk to people that just don't understand what that means?
So first of all, with the whole concept of letting go of things. My parents used to have in their room back in Wisconsin when we lived in Wisconsin, they used to have a sign or a picture, and it was birds, and it said, if you love something, let it free. If it was meant to be, it will come back. If it doesn't, it was never yours. And I think that's because my parents broke up when they were in college and then got back together, but I never really asked them about that. I should sit down and ask them, like, why did you have that picture? That was kind of weird. But I embodied that, and I've kind of like understood that. Like, I know that I'm only on earth for a very short amount of time. And I think losing my best friend was a part of that message to remind me of that. All of the money, it's not really mine. Like, the land is not really mine. Like, it's all just made to be utilized for the highest and best use in this moment of time. And then I too shall pass, and somebody else will utilize it in a different manner, whatever they deem necessary. And the way I talk to people is I share my perspective and I try to help them eliminate the stories or the mindset that they have. But it's that whole notion of you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. I used to think that my purpose on life was to get people to see things through my lens. And now I've recognized that my purpose on life is to show people what's possible and let them choose whatever they want for their lives. If they want more curiosity around it, I'm happy to pour into them endlessly. If they think I'm a crazy, raging lunatic, that's great too. Like, that's okay. I'm fine with that. But I think the best way to play with this concept is, like I said, take an amount of money that's a little bit uncomfortable and go hand it out in Walmart and reflect on how you feel when you walk out of Walmart. I mean, the first year we ever did that with my kids, and I'll never forget it, we took $2,000 to Walmart on Christmas Eve. And we were in a not such a good area, like a little bit of a sketchy area. And my in-laws were with us. They were in town from Wisconsin. And I remember my mother-in-law was like so afraid of doing this. She like wouldn't walk around the store with us. I'm like, we are not a boat coming off the ocean where seagulls are going to like hound us. Like, these are human beings. And my daughter would have been 3. She would have been 4 at the time. And my son was 2. And I will never forget my daughter handing people $50 bills and like a woman breaking down crying, asking if she can give my daughter a hug. And I looked at my daughter and said, how do you feel? And she said, Dad, my heart is so full. Like, if you need an example of how money is just energy, do that with your kids. Do that with yourself. And tell me that you don't feel more energized after you give. And then see what happens on the backside of it. Like, the world, God, the universe, whatever you believe in works in these incredibly mysterious ways. And you walk out of Walmart and there on the floor is $2,000 or something like that, right? This weird stuff starts to show up in your life. And, I've recognized that it's a muscle that has to be built over time. It's not just if you have a scarcity mindset, right? You grip money, like you alluded to, you grip money. You're not going to wake up one day and just go, oh, cool, I can embody this crazy lunatic Matt's idea of like letting money flow through me. This will work great. It's going to be a muscle. It's going to take time. It's going to take energy. It's going to take effort, but it's no different than training for a marathon. If you don't run at all, you're not going to go out and run 25 miles, 24 miles, 23 miles to train for this 26.2 mile marathon. You're going to go out and you're going to walk around the block. Then you're going to run around the block. Then you're going to do 5 miles and 7 miles. Like, same is true with money. If you find yourself gripping money really tightly, give $20 today. See how it feels. The next time an opportunity shows up to give, don't say no to it. Give $1. See how it feels. And start to build that muscle and that habit of like, this truly isn't mine anyways, so who am I to hold on to it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, one way that I've made that change is in tipping. I'll tip $20 on a $20 tab. I'll tip $40 on a $20 tab. Like, when you break it down, it's just $20. It's just $40. I don't care that it's 200%.
Yeah.
Right. These people that are serving and relying and like, it's going to make their day. And that's not even necessarily why I do it. It really is just like giving it away more so than anything.
Yeah. What I do with that is I'll find myself getting tight in moments like where you maybe don't get the best service and you're like, oh, I don't 15% tip today. Right. The second I feel that, I'm like, nope, double the bill. Yeah. Like, just trying to teach myself, like, don't be in judgment of that service was bad or that service was poor. Reside in this place of, I'm just going to allow things to flow through me. And like, when life gives me those opportunities of like getting tight or getting serious, like the zebras is another great example I keep going back to. We were going to buy one zebra. And I found a lady that sells baby zebras that are bottle fed. So like, you really get to have some cool interactions. Like, we've bottle fed these zebras. And we were going to buy one, and I was like, we'll go slow. We'll figure this out. But like, my end goal was like breed zebras. Like, how cool would it be to have a baby zebra running around on our ranch? Like, that would be incredible. And so when the lady was coming to deliver the zebras, she called me and said, hey, the lady that was supposed to buy the mail had a family crisis. Would you be willing to take 2 zebras? Initially, I was like, no, I don't want to spend more money, or hell no, I don't even know how to take care of 1 zebra. But I immediately just said, sure, I'll figure it out. Yes, no problem. And I didn't even tell my wife. I didn't even tell my kids. Like, they all were thinking that 1 zebra was getting delivered, and then 2 zebras came out of the trailer. My wife looked at me and I was like, I forgot to tell you. Yeah, we got 2. Good. My bad. But I again, like, that was more for me a training of the muscle of like just saying yes to whatever shows up and figuring out how to deal with it when it comes through, and not necessarily trying to like dictate and direct every specific thing.
I think that's been a big learning lesson on my journey, is especially if you're paying attention to your body and your mind in those moments where you feel your normal response, you're like basically reprogramming your neural pathways and your habits that you're unaware of, that you learned through time, that you learned from your parents, your family, your friends, going through life, these situations that might have been valid that taught you that the server was undeserving of, they gave bad service and society tells me I have to give them $0 tip or 5% tip or whatever, but it's being so present in your body. And then the other piece for me is, and you were kind of alluding to it, basically removing all expectations of outcomes. Yeah. Right. Removing the expectation of getting a pat on the back, or even that the money is yours, or how is it going to come back to you, or you're getting 2 zeros instead of 1, and you know that you're going to figure it out. So
yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that I've had to learn is I went through life for a decent amount of time with judgment. I got bad service at a restaurant. I was like, that person sucked. And then I finally recognized I have no idea what's going on in that person's life. I have no idea where they're at. I have no idea whether they just got diagnosed with cancer before they showed up for their shift, or their mom died, or their dog died, or maybe they just suck at serving. I don't know what the story is. And so I finally recognized, like, who am I to judge them for how they're acting based on my definition of how they should act? And once I let go of those judgments for others, and even more importantly for myself, now I'm not perfect at it. I still reside in judgment from time to time. But when I let go of those judgments, I found so much more limitless life to live. And that was just so much more exciting for me.
When you stop focusing on others, I talk about this a lot. When you stop focusing on others, and it's judgment, it's commenting, it's the road rage that people have when they get in their cars and they're upset at other people. It's when you're so focused on how other people are doing things, you're not focused on yourself. Yeah. When you focus on yourself, magical things happen. Yeah. And I'm not even talking about like in a completely selfish way. I think you should be selfish with you and your happiness and your fulfillment and all that. But when you stop focusing on others, life opens up and possibilities are endless. You remove the frustrations, you remove the anxiety, you remove the judgment and the energy that you're spending on focusing on other people. And you gave examples, oh, they could have had, found out they had cancer or all this. They could also not like you. Mm-hmm. They could also look at you dead in the face and say, I don't like you. I'm going to give you bad service. And guess what? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It has nothing to do with you. Mm-hmm. And the sooner that you can let go of all that stuff, the sooner that you're free to go do whatever you want with your life.
I think so.
Yeah. All right. So you're the CEO of GoBundance. Mm-hmm. Give people a little bit of the story on how you got there, because I think it's one for the movies, right? It's like straight out of the movies.
Yeah, well, the short story is it was dumb luck. But the real story is I got introduced to GoBundance when I was 23 years old. I was working for one of the founders, and he said, Matt, you're going to go to Orlando. You're going to volunteer at this entrepreneurial-based mastermind group I own called GoBundance. You're going to work 18-hour days, but you're going to learn a bunch. And I'll never forget, I think I had a BlackBerry at the time. I had to Google what is a mastermind. I'd never heard of that term. It wasn't something that floated around the community I grew up in. And so I just went and served and was like, okay, sure. If you tell me I should do this, I'll go do this. And he wasn't wrong. It was 18-hour days. The thing he didn't tell me was that we would sleep on air mattresses that lost all the air and we would end up on the floor in the middle of the night. But that was besides the point, right? I started off in a service-based role inside of GoBundance, and we have this thing called the Go Crew, which is built off of the same way that Tony Robbins runs his events, where there's volunteers that come in and help run the operations of the event. And so I was the Go Crew at the event. And I just was like, that was my way to get in the room. And I was in a room I didn't belong in. I didn't deserve to be in. I couldn't afford to be in. But I had found that service got me into that room. And so I just showed up and served. And I volunteered at that event and got to meet some really cool people. Ended up playing ping pong for a few hours with Ricky Williams. Again, was lucky that I was good at ping pong. And so I was the only one that could kind of hang with Ricky. Now he's still a professional athlete, so he was incredibly good with his hand-eye coordination. But I mean, I remember sitting there talking to Ricky Williams at 23 years old with all of the judgments I had about this guy who was supposed to be so good and got addicted to marijuana and dropped out. And I learned all of these different perspectives as to like why his story came out the way it came out. And it was because his whole life, all he ever wanted to do was achieve and win the Heisman Trophy. And once he won the Heisman Trophy, he didn't know what else to do. Like that was how he defined success in his life. And so once he got that, there was nothing else to do. And so he said he recognized in his life he didn't have a hardware problem, he had a software problem. And so he started talking to me about like, what are your software problems? And I'm like, what's a software problem? Like I didn't understand it, right? But he taught me in that moment the power of questions and the power of curiosity. Like he literally taught me this concept that I still hold near and dear to my heart today, which is choice creates awareness, which leads to more choice. That's it. That's all that there is in life. Choice and awareness, choice and awareness. There's no judgment. There's no right. There's no wrong. There's just choice and awareness, choice and awareness. And so I started off as a volunteer with GoBundance. Then I went to the next event, volunteered at another event in Tahoe, and was just there to serve, was just there to help, was just there to provide value. Again, they brought the really good air mattresses that they owned at the time that ran out of air. But this time I knew it, so I put pillows under the air mattress. And, you know, I saw an opportunity to serve. David Osborne was at the event. His wife was flying in that night. And he said, while he was eating breakfast, he said, can you go get my ski boots? I forgot them in my room. Most people would have said no. Or most people would have said yes and given him his ski boots and been done with it. I went and got him his ski boots. And when I walked into his room, it was a disaster. Like, I mean, he was just clearly like by himself for a week at a ski resort and didn't have any consideration for my wife is coming here and the room should be clean. And so I got down and gave him his boots. I'm like, hey man, it's going to sound a little bit weird, but do you care if I clean your room up? He's like, yeah, I care. I don't clean my room. I'm like, okay, no problem. And he's like, why would you clean my room? I'm like, well, your wife was coming in. I thought, you know, you whatever. But I'm like, no problem. I just thought I would ask. And he thought about it for a couple of minutes. He's like, yeah, actually, would you mind cleaning my room? I'm like, no, not at all. So I cleaned up his room and just was like a value to him, a service to him. And his wife came in. He came back to me later. He's like, thank you for doing that. Like, my wife was like impressed with how clean the room was. Like all my clothes were not in the suitcase. They were put away in the drawers, like, which meant you touch my underwear. I'm like, it's just underwear. Like, who cares? Like, it's not that big of a deal. And so one of the things I learned at that event was by serving in the back of the room, one of the speakers talked about having a vision for your life, having a 5-year vision. And so I got on the plane to fly back to DC where my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and I were living at the time. I rewrote my 5-year vision. I said, I live in Austin, Texas. I work for David Osborne. And I started reading that vision. And 2 weeks later, he called me and he said, what would it take to get you to Austin? It's like, dude, I've never been to Texas, but I'd love to check it out. And he flew Melissa and I down here to check out Austin, Texas. Of course, we fell in love with it. It's just an incredible city. And I remember my parents, my in-laws, friends, everybody like, you don't know this guy from a hole in the wall. What, you know, like, and again, it goes back to like the worst thing that happened is I had to move home. I loved home. I loved my friends. I love my family. Like, if that's the worst thing that happens to me, like, why wouldn't I try it? So I started working for David. I've been working for him for 11 years. Literally started off as the water boy, like just taking stuff off his plate. And as a byproduct of working for him, I was very involved with GoBundance because he's one of the founders. And so I've always been around it. I've always been at events. I've always been volunteering. And a couple of years ago, I saw an opportunity to deliver more value to our champions level membership. And I was just like, dude, I think we're missing the mark on this. I think I can fix this. Like, I know I'm not qualified for the job, but I think I can do it. And he's like, okay, well, worst thing that happens is you fail and I'll fire you. But if you do a good job, there's an opportunity for you. I'm like, okay, so heads you win, tails I lose. Like, sure, I'll take that bet. Like, why not? I'll do it. And so I started doing that. And then the other owners of GoBundance, the other founders saw how well it was going. And they came to me and said, what would it take to get you to run the whole organization? I said, well, I love what I do for David in his family office. As long as I don't have to give that up, I'd be honored to be the CEO of GoBundance. So literally started as a volunteer in the back of the room, making sure people had full water cups to transitioning today, like running the events, running the organization, leading the conversations, giving state of the market updates, doing things that 10 years ago, I would have said, like, I'll never speak on stages. Like, that's just not me. I like to be back of the room, right? But the opportunity presented itself, and I just found a way to serve people and to be a vehicle for people to have transformation and change in their life. And when that opportunity was presented to me, I just said, sure, I'll try it. And again, my reality, the worst case scenario is I just go back to doing what I'm doing.
And so who did you have to become over that decade?
Yeah, I would say it's who I'm still becoming. I still have limiting beliefs. I still have the narratives of like, I'm not worthy of this. I'll never forget the first event I ran. I was like getting mic'd up and my palms were sweaty. Like one of the gifts I've been given in my life is my armpits don't sweat. I don't have to wear deodorant, but my hands and my feet for some reason love to sweat. So like, I remember my palms were like, you literally could have like washed a car with my hands. They were so sweaty. It was just terrible. But I was like standing there going like, who am I to be on this stage? Like I'm in this room with 50 guys all worth over $5 million. I was probably maybe at the time worth $1 million, but I'm like, who am I? Like, what am I going to do? And I remember David taught me this when I was first started in his organization. He talked about this story of when he used to drive into Dallas to build his businesses. He would come over this certain part of the hill and he'd see this giant skyline of Dallas. And he would ask himself like, who am I to go into this giant city and try to make change? And he said he started combating that by just asking himself, why not me? Someone's going to go in and do it. Why not me? And so I just started asking myself, why not me? Why not me? And I would say the person that I've had to become, the person I'm still becoming, is a student of life. It is a person that understands there's going to be people that throw jabs at me, that complain about things, that criticize things, but they aren't criticizing me. And even if they do, it's not mine to carry. That's their issue, not me. And I've just really had to become somebody that seeks respect rather than like. I think a lot of people spend their entire life wanting to be liked, and I want to spend my entire life being respected. And if by being respected, I can be liked as a byproduct of that, that's beautiful, that's great. But I'm not willing to sacrifice myself and who I am to be liked by people. I've had to really lean into leadership and delegation, which has been really freaking uncomfortable. I still struggle with it to this day. I've had to be somebody that's not afraid to have uncomfortable, candid conversations, which isn't fun. I've had to be able to fire people, hire people, like be sued by somebody that quit our organization and then tried to sue me in the state of California for gender discrimination and wrongful termination, even though they quit. I've had to just get comfortable with all of those things and understand that like it's all just a part of the journey. And as David said so brilliantly, you cannot get big by managing small. So just not giving those things weight and authority in my life.
How do you balance being respected and being liked? Or what if only 50% of the people that you encounter respect you?
Well, then that would be my 100%. Those would be the only people I hang with. No, I mean, I think that's it. It's why wouldn't the other 50% respect me? And I've found in my own life, the people I respect the most is the people who are honest and true to their word. Whether I agree with their word or not, I respect that. I like, okay, if that's your perspective, I respect that. And so for me, it's if I'm honest and true to my word and people don't respect that, well, that's not me. That's not on me. Now, if I'm honest and true to my word that I'm going to go rob a bank, yeah, people shouldn't respect that. So like I have to operate from a place of integrity too, which is very important. But I believe the person that stands there and tells you how full of integrity they are is like the person that has zero integrity at all, right? It's that like joke of if someone tells you how religious they are, grab your wallet, walk backwards, and don't lose eye contact. Like if you have to tell me how much you are something, you probably aren't that. And so I operate from a place of integrity with everything I do. I always try to make the right decisions for the scenario. It might not always be what's best for me, but it's what's best for the situation, which might not always be best for the people that I'm making the decision for. But again, it's for the situation. I'm going to lose the respect of some people because they aren't going to, like what I did, but they aren't going to be able to say like he didn't stay true to his word or he violated his own core values or core principles. They're going to be able to say like, yeah, I mean, he followed what he said he was going to do. I can't hate him for that.
Yeah. Grab life big.
Yeah.
What is that?
So it's a slogan that kind of GoBundance embodied early on in its career, let's call it. Let's call this business its own career. It was a slogan of like, a lot of people choose to live small lives. And I don't think that's okay. I actually am working on my book right now, which is around this concept of stop living small. Society, schools, parents, friends, credit card debt, all of it is kind of set up in a way to keep you small and keep the system big. And I just don't think that that's a good way to live. Like, I think it's a pandemic we have going on in society right now, which is like, I can't live a big life because the people at the soccer game are going to question me for driving a Range Rover or something stupid, right? Like, so I can't have that because what will they think of me if I do those things? And so for me, what grab life big means is like, go get what you want from life. Like, go take advantage of the gifts and the talents and the treasures you have and go get what you want. And, you know, don't walk over people to get there. Don't take advantage of people to get there. Don't abuse people to get there. But like, go find the way or make the way to get what you want to get. Like, stop living a small life. Like, you don't have to live small. Now, if you choose to live a small life, that's okay. There's a lot of people that make that choice, and that's beautiful. Good for them. That's amazing. But the people that are living small and aren't actively choosing it and are complaining about it, like, you don't have to do that. Like, grab life big, go do it.
I've noticed that a lot of people that are living small lives, they don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Their language is small
Mm-hmm.
and apologetic,
Mhm.
and it's not my turn. That's not for me. I can't do that. How do people even start to be aware that they're in this small-minded trap of a life?
I mean, it starts first with a vision. You have to have a vision for your life. Where do you want it to go? I mean, I talk about this all the time, but if you watch Alice in Wonderland, she asks the Chester Cat, where should I go? And he says, well, where do you want to go? She says, I don't know. Like, well, then it doesn't matter what you choose because you don't know where you want to go, so it doesn't really matter. And I think the people that aren't even aware of it don't have a vision for their life. Like, 10 years from now, what does your life look like? And if you ask most people that question, they'll be like, I have no idea. I've never thought about that. Like, oh my gosh, what a miserable way to live. What do you mean you never thought about that? It's like when you go to watch a movie, the first thing they come out with is a trailer. The trailer is the vision for what that movie is going to make you feel, make you experience, and make you believe. And then you're like, I've got to see that movie. So like, create a trailer for your life. Like, create that vision. Like, I've got to go live this thing. Then the other thing, I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. It's very uncomfortable. It doesn't always feel good. But a lot of us choose to spend time with people that tell us what we want to hear. Like, yeah, you shouldn't do that. You did make the right decision. Yeah, you shouldn't have that car. Yeah, people that drive that car are assholes. Like, whatever it is, right? You need to be surrounded by people that are going to tell you what you need to hear. Like, you're truly capable of more than that. You want somebody to look you in the eye and be like, do you really think that's the best you got? And the best example I have of this is coaches. Like, when we have coaches growing up in sports, when you make a mistake, the coach isn't like, hey, great job. Like, you screwed up that play. The coach is like, why did you make that choice? This is what that led to. How could we do it differently? They tell you what you need to hear so you can get better, so you don't make the same mistake. And I think we have a tendency to shy away from that over time, probably because we have wounds and scars and it just doesn't always feel good. But I think if you find people that tell you what you want to hear, you're going to be stuck for a very long time, because most people aren't comfortable or confident to have that candid, raw, authentic conversation that might kick you in the teeth. But the second you lean into those conversations, you'll start to become aware of the limiting beliefs, the stories, the mindsets, like the things that are holding you back, you'll become aware of because they'll make you aware of it. They'll tell you it to your face. Like, do you truly believe that?
Yeah. I had a family member that had a conversation like that with me that at the time I didn't want to believe. Mm-hmm. And it was the catalyst actually for a lot of the changes that I made in my life because of it, because I needed to hear it.
Yeah, the best example I have of this is my wife, man. I love Melissa to death. She's the most incredible woman. Like, I wouldn't be anything without her. She's given me like the wind beneath my wings, like the support, the courage, the push, the applause, but like, she is not afraid to call me on my shit all the time. And I have a tendency to react negatively in the moment, but looking back on those conversations, I'm like, man, I needed to hear that. Like, it wasn't comfortable, but I needed to hear that. Like, and literally the other day, she's like, we have a sauna and a cold plunge at our house. We got the kids down, and she's like, do you want to go do the sauna? I'm like, yeah, let's go do the sauna. She's like, well, could you do it without your phone? It's like, no, I can't do it on my phone. I want to listen to music. And like, I look back on that conversation, I'm like, you idiot. What she was telling you was put your damn phone down. Like, you're always on your phone. I didn't want to hear that in the moment. And I responded like negatively. And I haven't circled back on this conversation with her yet, but I will. But like, that was what I needed to hear, is like, detach from your phone a little bit. Yeah. I didn't want to hear it. It wasn't comfortable. Like, I didn't want to admit that I have an issue by looking at my phone too much and answering emails and text messages and looking at Craigslist for more animals. But what she was saying was right. Be present. Yeah. Put the phone down.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, honestly, that's why the podcast is called For Your Own Good. It's because these are the things that we need to hear. And I want people to hear this stuff and like be exposed to these types of conversations where you are getting the things that you need to hear and really be aware and present how they land in your mind and your body. The first time I interacted with anyone from GoBundance was up in Whistler for Brian Lubin's 30th birthday. And to be honest, I hadn't heard of GoBundance. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And I'm in this room and everyone's from GoBundance and I'm looking around, and that whole weekend, everybody's really fit. Nobody's drinking. Like there might've been a little bit of, here, but like literally nobody's drinking. Everyone's going to bed on time. And there was a situation where one of the members asked another member, "What's your greatest fear?" And he said, "Skydiving." And so he's like, "All right, we're going to go," or not skydiving, bungee jumping.
Yeah.
So, "All right, we're going to go bungee jumping then." And so they bought the tickets, and then everybody, except for me and Brian, bought tickets to go bungee jump, and then they all did it.
Yeah.
I was like, the thing that I took away from that weekend was like, the things that they say about high achievers and high performance people are true. Every single person in that room was, like I said, fit, not drinking, going to bed, drinking water, and looking to add value into every single person's life and help however they could. And so, like, what is it about the people in GoBundance? What is it about how you attract or create those types of people inside of GoBundance?
I mean, I think it's all about the culture. Like if you look at even a church community, for instance, like a church community has a culture and it attracts people and it repels people. GoBundance is no different. And it was built off of like the original members and the founders. And it was like, we're not going to apologize for being awesome. We're going to have honest, vulnerable, authentic conversations. We're going to hold each other extremely accountable to doing what we said we wanted to do. Not because we enjoy kicking each other in the teeth, but because we want everybody to achieve what they're truly capable of achieving. Like, the rising tide does lift all boats. And so I think when you recognize that you are the sum of the 5 people you choose to spend the most time with, you get very intentional on spending time with the right 5 people, because through osmosis, you will become that. And I think GoBundance has just built a culture where it repels and it attracts. And the people it attracts are awesome additions to the ethos and to the culture and to the tribe of the organization. The people it repels are probably not the right people anyways. But a lot of the people that it repelled come full circle at some point and go like, I just wasn't ready for this.
Yeah.
I just didn't know what this was all about. This was just really uncomfortable. And so I think it's just living the core values. It's no different than you or I living our normal life. We are going to attract what we put out. And so if you embody the core values you want to attract, those will show up in your life. People will show up. Opportunities will show up. It's incredible. GoBundance is no different. It has its core values. It has its 6 pillars, age-defying health being one of them. And so it either attracts people that are already super healthy or want to get super healthy. And then that becomes a part of the conversation and the dialogue.
So what are the other pillars?
We have genuine contribution, age-defying health, bucket list adventures, which I think is the most important one, honestly. But that's a whole nother tangent. Genuine contribution, I say that one. Yeah. Horizontal income, which is like money that you don't have to necessarily work for, but it comes in regardless. Authentic relationships, and then extreme accountability. And those are the pillars of GoBundance.
And so how are you going to take the legacy of GoBundance? Because it started small.
Yeah.
Right? It was David and like a couple people that started this thing. And now how many members are there?
Just under 900.
Yeah. So it's grown quite a bit. I've met people from all over the country that are a part of GoBundance now. How are you going to, as the CEO, continue the legacy and step into that?
So if you look at what made GoBundance special, it was vulnerable, intimate, accountable conversations. That was what like the secret sauce was. And so the team and I have embodied this model that we call VIA at scale. It stands for vulnerability, intimacy, accountability, and doing it at scale. So like how do we, with the organization at 900 members or 10,000 members, how do we maintain vulnerability, intimacy, and accountability? Well, the way we maintain vulnerability is through bucket list type adventures, because if you go do bungee jumping with somebody and it scares the heck out of you, I don't care what you say, you will have a bond with the person you did it with, regardless of your experience, so long as you didn't die and the cord didn't snap. But you'll have a bond with them, right? And then if you take that conversation and you transfer it into a boardroom where you have an intimate conversation, meaning 6, 7, 8 guys, and you're going deep on stuff, you'll be much more vulnerable because you already have that bond. And then if you add in accountability after it, so it's like, here's where I'm really struggling in my life. I haven't told anybody about it. You tell like a close board of directors and you say, here's what I'm going to do about it. And then that board of directors follows up with you. Like, that is the legacy of GoBundance. And so we're just figuring out ways to do that regardless of the scale of the organization. So we're focused on the local chapter models. We're focused on our GoPods. We're focused on like all of our events have the vulnerability, the intimacy, and the accountability. Like, we don't sit shoulder to shoulder with guys at events in rows like a classroom style. All of our events are tables because I want people face to face having conversations, because that's vulnerable, that's intimate, and that's where accountability can truly transform your life, I believe. So the way we're going to maintain the legacy of it, as you know, under my quote unquote leadership, is just to embody those three things. And then also, like, this is a tribe that's really been member-led and member-driven the entire time. And so we give our members an opportunity to provide a ton of feedback all the time. And it's not just one in one ear, out the other ear kind of feedback. It's like, okay, yes, I understand you're complaining about that, but what are you really saying? Okay, let me peel back the layers of that onion. Here's what I hear you saying. Is that right? Yes. Well, here's what I'm thinking of doing for changing that. What do you think? It's not a bad idea, but what about this? Like, oh, that's actually a better idea. Do you mind if I use that inside of the organization? Nobody ever says no. And so then you just take the ideas of the collective genius, which is what we all want to do, is 1 + 1 = 5, not 2. You apply it to the business and it works.
What do the self-improvement gurus get wrong?
They're not vulnerable. They post and show only the best things, and they paint this picture that your life will be all sunshines and rainbows, and that's just bullshit. I think the best thing the self-help gurus, for lack of better terms, can do is be like, wow, today I'm getting kicked in the teeth. Wow, today really sucked. Oh, I just had to fire somebody. That was really painful. But instead, they like paint these pictures of like, if you want to have an incredible organization, you're going to have to let go of shitty people. Like, well, that person wasn't shitty. You probably first and foremost weren't clear with them on the expectations. And then second, you probably put them in a position they should have never been in. That's on you. And so I think like what social media and the guru space in general has wrong, if you will, is they literally only show one side of the spectrum. And like, that's not reality. I mean, it's like thinking that your life is going to only be, you know, the best part of a Disney movie. But if you watch any Disney movie, there's always a bad part too. And the best part is what makes you feel like in love with or embodied with the characters. Our life is the same. We're going to have bad times. We're going to have bad seasons, but nobody really wants to talk about those or show those because they think it will make them appear less than.
Mm-hmm. I think I saw that the net worth of all the members in GoBundance is $2 billion.
5.4.
Okay, so more than double.
Yeah, at one point it was 2.
Okay, so the net worth of everyone in GoBundance is 5.4 billion.
Yeah.
Why is that an important metric?
You know, I just think it's an important metric to show the amount of change and transformation that we can create. Like, if you think of GoBundance as a country and you look at it as the GDP of a country, like, we rank higher than many countries that exist in the world. And that isn't from an ego perspective. That's from like, if we have a GDP greater than a country, what change can we create in the world? Like, if you think of yourself standing on the bank of a river, throwing a rock in, there's a ripple effect, right? Maybe it's 1 ripple, maybe it's 5 ripples. If it's a giant stone, maybe it's 100 ripples. That size of the cumulative net worth of our tribe, to me, just shows the amount of ripples we can create in our communities, in our businesses, in our families, in the world. And if we can truly transform and change communities, like, we can really do a lot of cool stuff in the world. And the number to me is just showing the size of stone we can throw in the water, which is in direct correlation, I believe, to the amount of ripples we can create.
Yeah, this is something where if you're living a small life and you want to help people, you might say, oh, I want to go help the individual, or I want to open a soup kitchen, or I want to do this, but I don't want to make a bunch of money, or I don't want to do this. But when you realize that if you have a mission behind helping people, that the more resources that you have, the more money that you have, the more energy that is available to go help more people legitimately. But what do you say to people that might be like, oh, you're just talking about your net worth and your money and you're not giving it away, and, you know, tax the rich, and, you know, people that maybe they want to help people, but they don't understand how groups like yours with, you know, a lot of members with a lot of money can actually do that?
I would just say, like, be careful of the judgments you put on others. And until you walk a mile in my shoes or the shoes of the members, just be careful of the stories and the narratives you have, because all of those are just limiting you. I mean, at our most recent event, we gave away $470,000 in 30 minutes. I mean, that's not a bunch of rich pricks talking about their net worth. That was a bunch of guys going, holy cow, we can make transformation and change in Nepal with kids who have no parents, no house, no roof over their head. Like, yeah, we're going to give for this orphanage because, like, we can make a difference. We can make an impact. We can make change. And for the person that's like, it's just a bunch of rich pricks, I would say, like, you know, just be careful of the narratives you have and the stories you're telling yourself. And until you're in the room, just be careful, because all of those stories are just going to limit what's truly capable and possible inside of your life. And it's going to cause you to miss a lot of really cool opportunities along the way.
I agree. You got the phone call. It was from David, right?
Yeah.
So you got the phone call from David to go volunteer. I was talking to Brian Lubin right before this, and he said that he got a phone call from you. Mm-hmm. Can you tell me about what happened there?
Yeah. So Brian actually emailed David while I was working for him and said, hey, I heard you on a podcast. I don't qualify for GoBundance, but I want to be in GoBundance, or something along those lines. And I manage and was managing David's email, so David doesn't answer his emails. And so I answered as David and was like, thanks for the email, Brian. You know, I'm going to connect you with Matt. You should talk to Matt. So I got on a call with Brian, like I do many people. And I told Brian, like, what's your vision for your life? He's like, oh, I just don't want to do this sales job. I think he was selling uniforms. And he was really good at it. He was making a lot of money. And I'm like, well, what's your vision? He's like, I don't know. I'm like, okay, start with a 5-year vision. And I'm like, you know, you really should come to this GoBundance event, but it's in like 7 days, 10 days. Like, you don't really qualify to be there, but you should come. It would be really good for you. And the team at GoBundance reached out to me like an hour later, like, who's Brian Lubin? I'm like, oh, that's my fault. Like, yeah, he doesn't qualify. I'm like, I know he doesn't qualify, but if he's willing to take a risk and get in the room, we owe it to him to give him that opportunity, I think. And so he just came to the event and he just showed up the same way I went to the event. I just showed up. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't have any expectations of an outcome or a net worth or an income that was going to be given to me. I just knew if I surrounded myself with the right people, that really cool things would show up. And that's exactly what happened for Brian. That's exactly what happened for me. And so it happened for Diego. That's what happens for like all of our members. They show up and like the unexpected happens. And like, wow, I thought I was just going to learn how to invest my money. And little did I know I'm going to become a better husband or a better father or healthier or, you know, wealthier in all of the different ways that Sahil Bloom defines wealth in his new book. I had the privilege of interviewing him on my podcast. It's like, that's what wealth is really about. It's about all these other gardens. It's not about the number of commas in your bank account.
When you're interacting with all these high performers, high achievers, successful people, how do you tell if they're actually struggling?
You know, you pretty much just assume they're all struggling. Everybody's struggling somewhere in their life. And the more all put together and all figured out they appear, the more they're struggling. I like to ask a lot of questions. I like to always be super curious. Now, I have to also be careful because my curiosity is also a mechanism to control the conversation and not have to be vulnerable myself. And so that's something I have to be careful with, is if I always ask the questions, then I never have to open up, and that's really safe for me. And so that's like a defense mechanism that I'll always fall back on and I'm aware of and I'm working on. But I just ask questions like, how are you feeling? How's it going? What's going well? And then I try to, you know, pay attention to what people say. Like, there's a guy who's a mentor of mine whose godson is in the NHL Frozen 4 hockey thing, right? When I talk to him, I don't have to ask how the team's doing or how the game's going or when the next game is. I don't have to pay attention to the scores, but like I pay attention to those things because it creates a bond and a relationship that then when I do ask him the questions, he's willing to open up more authentically because we have a deeper connection and a deeper bond. And so, you know, I just assume everybody's struggling somewhere. The person who says they've got it all figured out is probably the person struggling the most. And then I just try to ask questions.
Yeah. There's this, when talking about vision, how do you help people craft their visions?
Yeah, for sure.
And so I think something that I've struggled with in the past, I'm still struggling with, is shiny object syndrome, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah.
Living a balanced life, making money. Oh, I can do I can do the podcast, and I've got my real estate, and I've got this, and I've got this, and I've got this.
Mm-hmm.
How do you advise people when they've got so many things that they want to do and they think they can do them? What is it?
There's two things. The first thing I would say is if you're struggling from shiny object syndrome, it's a lack of clarity on your vision. And so then the first thing that shows up for you becomes your new vision. You get really excited about it, and then it doesn't really have a purpose or a meaning, and then it kind of fizzles away. Then the next thing lands on your desk. You're like, ooh, I'm really excited about this. Let me chase it. So lack of vision, lack of clarity around vision allows that shiny object syndrome to pop up for people. I think a lot more than most are willing to give it credit for. And then, the other thing I would say is just at the end of the day, you can do it all. You just have to become a different version of yourself. And so when people say like, you can't do it all, like bullshit, you can do it all. You just have to get really good at hiring talent, empowering talent, putting them in place so that they can chase that part of your vision while you chase this part of your vision. You can have it all. You're just going to have to become a different version of yourself. And so then that means, what is the vision for your life? That also means you're probably going to have to surround yourself with different people. You might have to hire coaches. You might have to hire mentors. You might have to have peers. You might have to let go of that long-standing relationship you've had with your best friend forever and not say, hey, you're dead to me, but just say, like, you're going to go in the backseat of the car until I'm ready to put you in the front seat because right now your weight, your stories, your narrative has too much control over me and my actions, and I don't want that life. That's okay that you want that life. I give you a ton of credit, a ton of props, a ton of kudos. I just don't want that for me. And so I just think it all comes back to the stories we tell ourselves, and even more importantly, the stories we're willing to accept. You can have it all, and if you want it all, you deserve to have it all. But just understand that you're going to have to become a version of yourself that you probably aren't currently, which means you're going to have to endure some pain. You're going to have some failures. You're going to have some struggles. But if you want it all, you can have it all. You're just going to have to figure out how to have people help you and serve you in ways you probably aren't comfortable with today.
Do you believe in subtraction?
I didn't up until last November. I used to think that the way to achieve the life I wanted was through addition. And it's like this addition fallacy, like, oh, if I just say yes to everything, because it served me up until the point I was 34. I was like, every time I say yes to something, something good happens. Every time I say yes to something good happens. And now I recognize that by saying yes, I've essentially created a lid or a ceiling on my life. Like the way to get to where I want to go now is not going to be through my yeses. It's going to be through my no's. And I used to think, and I still think, and I still struggle with, no always had to have a justification. So I can't because blah, 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 blah. Like no is a complete sentence. No period, done. Nothing else needed, nothing more needed, no explanations, no nothing. Like I still struggle with this. Like Holly works with me and she's like been one of the best things that's happened to my world in helping me navigate and manage everything that I've got going on in my life. And there's times where I don't want to talk to people. And I'm always like, Holly, just tell them I'm sick. Or Holly, tell them I'm traveling. Or Holly's like, I'm just going to tell them no. I'm like, thank you, Holly. Like, I like that. Like, that feels really cool. Like, just no. And so I finally started to understand that addition is a delusional way to get to where I want to go. It's not going to help me get to where I want to go. It's going to help me get to where others think I should be based on their agenda and their vision. And so I've started saying no, and I've just started getting I'm not there yet, but I've started getting comfortable with the no's.
Yeah. I've been on a self-improvement journey pretty intensely over the past 2 years. Like this has been the most that I've worked on myself over the last 2 years. And learned a lot about myself, learned a lot about subtraction, saying no. And then even in the last 3 months, I got through some more stuff and I'm like, oh, it took me 18 months to learn all that stuff. Am I learning now what I don't want even more in this next 3 months? And the no's are going to get harder because I said I want all this stuff and I made commitments and I showed up for stuff and I went all in on it. And now I'm like, oh, I'm going to go have to tell these people no. Yeah. I'm going to have to go unwind social contracts and maybe literal contracts, right? That I made because I know that I need to subtract more than I need to add.
Yeah.
And so as people are, because they'll hear you say, oh, I need to become the new version of myself or a different version of myself. How does that actually look when it comes to like subtraction and saying no and other things that people need to do with their time and their energy and the people in their life?
It's no different than getting my kids to eat a freaking dinner. I mean, my daughter says I want macaroni. Macaroni's on her plate. She's like, I don't want macaroni. I want a grilled cheese. I'm like, you just told me you wanted macaroni. But the reality is she changed her mind. Like, how beautiful is that she changed her mind? Now, I'm, as a parent or a bad parent, am putting these like constraints on her, these stories in her at 6 years old that you can't change your mind. Like, you said you wanted macaroni, eat the damn macaroni. But in reality, I want her to change her mind. And like the same is true of us as humans. Like, you have to go unwind social contracts. Who cares? You changed your mind. It's okay to change your mind. And one of the things I love to do is set goals. And I learned early on my goal setting process with David under his mentorship and leadership was there's only 2 reasons you don't achieve your goals. The first one is you die. Like, let's hope that doesn't happen. But if you die, you're not going to achieve your goals. Like, that's the reality. The second one is you change your mind. Now, it has to be a conscious choice. It can't be like, ooh, the workouts suck. I don't want to run a marathon anymore. But if it's like, my ankles are killing me, my knees are breaking down, and my body can't handle running a marathon, it's okay to say, this is no longer on my goals. I'm going to erase it, and I'm going to put something else in its place. And so I just think it's all about giving yourself permission and acceptance, so long as it's a conscious choice to choose something different. It's okay, but it has to be conscious. It can't be subconscious of like, I don't like waking up that early anymore. I'm just going to say no to this. It's like, hey, I'm not showing up as the best husband I could because I've been waking up too early. I need to change the group I work out with. Like, that's okay to change the group you work out with. But if it's just like a little uncomfortable, to me, that's a cop-out, and that's not a reason to change.
So then what do you say to the entrepreneurs or business owners that they join a new mastermind every month because they want, and kind of like shiny objects, right? Like, what do you say to them? Like, oh, well, I changed my mind. I don't want to invest in multifamily or Airbnb or hotels. I want to go create content, or I want to go do this business, or I'm going to go buy small businesses, and they change their mind every 3 months. Like, what do you say to people that never get the momentum under them?
The thing I often say to them is, what are you really running from? You're running from something. Like, you're masking it by I'm chasing this new thing or this new thing or this new thing. But like let's truly sit down and just say, like, what are you really running from? And they always say, like, nothing. Like, okay, that's an interesting perspective. What are you most afraid of? Nothing. Okay, that's an interesting perspective. Like, let's dig into that. Let's talk about that. The other thing I would say to that person or those people is, if you look at the most successful people in life, they're extraordinary people, but they're only extraordinary because they're ordinary and they're really freaking consistent. And they become really consistent even through, I want to change my mind. This is uncomfortable. This hurts. This isn't working. I need to fire. I need to hire. I need to grow. Like, they're really consistent towards their vision. And one day they wake up and they're extraordinary. But it looks like an overnight success, but it's really like a 10-year journey of like pain, awful experiences, terrible decisions, mistakes, near bankruptcy, like all of these things. And then one day we look at them and say, wow, they're like really extraordinary, but they're really just consistent, like really freaking consistent.
It's the number one thing that will change people's lives if they get consistent.
Yep.
Like, pick something and be consistent. Do it for 30 days, do it for 60 days. If you can't go to the gym on a regular basis, it's going to be really hard to run a business for a year.
The one thing I tell every single person I talk to, like, I'm super, super, super consistent about when I wake up. Even last night we went to the Austin Rodeo, which used to be like a cool thing. Now it's a really cool thing for me because like the ranch and all this stuff. And I also have ridden a bull. So like now it's really cool. I really like going. We didn't get home till like 11:30. I'm usually in bed at 10 o'clock. My alarm goes off at 3:47. Used to be 4:17, but I got some shit from some people that because I'm getting older, I need less sleep. I'm like, fine, I'll take that challenge. So I get up every morning, 3:47, regardless of what happened the night before. Now, some days I'll get up at 3:47 and not work out because I'm tired, but it's a conscious choice, but I'm still going to stay consistent on when I get up. So for people struggling with consistency, the number one place to start is what time you wake up in the morning, and then go read the book, Make Your Bed. There's an incredible book called Make Your Bed, and it talks about why in the military they make their bed every single day. Because if you start your day with a win, it's easier to stack wins on wins than it is wins on losses. So if you literally wake up at the same time every day and make your bed, you will find other areas of your life that just naturally become more consistent because you've started your day with intentionality and consistency.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Why 3:47?
I hate even numbers, and I know 4 is still an even number, but like it used to be 4:17, and then I got a lot of shit that 4 was in it. And I'm like, okay, fine, I'll go before 4, and then I tried 3:53, but I like that extra 7 minutes, 6 minutes, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna try this time now. So it's like I've probably got some issues that I need to address, but I really like odd numbers. I don't like even numbers.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Very weird.
I've never heard that before.
Very quirky. I have no idea why. Like, even if you look at my goals, it's never like 50 or 100. It's like 101, 51, 53. It's like it's very weird.
What patterns are people ignoring?
Man, the biggest pattern I think that people are ignoring is the stories and the limiting beliefs that they have. And they're choosing to ignore them because they aren't willing to confront them. The other thing I would say is, like, when you wake up and what you do in the morning, like Hal Elrod's a great example of it. Like Miracle Morning, if you haven't read the book, it's an easy read. And if you don't like the Savers method, just embrace and embody the concept of wake up in the morning, move your body, put good information into your mind, make sure you do so with intentionality, and your life will change. And I think most people are ignoring the pattern that they hit snooze on their alarm clock 3 times. They wake up, they look at social media for 45 minutes. Then they're kind of late for work, so they don't make the coffee at home. They stop at Starbucks and spend $6 on a sugary, trashy drink. They get to the office, they feel lethargic. They crash around noon, so they hammer some more sugar. Like, I mean, it's just the story and the limiting belief we have of like, oh, I was too tired, so I needed to hit snooze. Like, oh, I just wanted to see what was going on in social media. Like, oh, I needed to look for this. Like, oh, I didn't have time to make my coffee, so I'm going to buy the Starbucks drink. Then it becomes, oh, I don't have the money to do those investments because you're spending the $6 on the stupid Starbucks coffee. I think it's the limiting beliefs, and I think it's just like the way people start their days.
And so what conventional wisdom should they challenge?
All of it. Challenge the status quo always is like one of my models. Like, one of my core values is challenge the status quo. Like, the main thing I'm wrestling with right now is if you look at like all the longevity studies, like the number one indicator of longevity is sleep. And so like conventional wisdom would tell you I shouldn't wake up before 4 o'clock. Like I should get 6, 7, 8 hours of sleep. I'm at a season in my life where that wisdom just doesn't serve me. First of all, I've been super fortunate and blessed to not need a ton of sleep. I don't really like to sleep. Now, little did I know that would transition to our kids, and that's a really interesting thing when your daughter, goes to bed at 8 and wakes up at 5:30 and is ready for the day. You're like, dude, I could use a little more time for me. But I think like just all of it, like whatever you're doing, ask yourself, why am I doing this? Like, is it in alignment with my vision, my purpose, my mission, my values? If the answer is yes, then don't challenge it. But if the answer is no, like, stop doing it. Mm-hmm. Just stop doing it.
Yeah, I tell people to, like, every single thing that you do, stop and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And do I like it? Mm-hmm. And pay attention to how your body feels while you're doing all these things. Because your body will tell you how you feel about these things. And it's not society that needs to dictate how you feel every single day. And that's when you get free.
Yeah, my biggest pet peeve is when you ask somebody, well, why are you doing that? Well, that's just how we've always done it.
Cool.
Like, oh, that's an interesting perspective. Who's we? You and the mouse in your pocket? Like, what are you talking about here? Like, who's we? Yeah. It's just a dangerous place to be. And so, like, challenging the status quo, I think, is super important. Now, again, as a parent, this is a very tough dynamic to balance because, why do I have to go to school? Like, okay. Like, yeah, sure, let's challenge the status quo. But, like, why you have to go to school is because I want my children to build the muscle of learning. Because that's been the greatest thing I have is I have a desire to learn. And so, like, why do you have to go to school? Well, you need that learning muscle, I believe, so that you can go pursue whatever you decide later. And if it's not school, that's okay. I dropped out of college. I didn't finish college. But when you're trying to parent, a lot of times I find myself of like, well, that's just how we do things. And because that's the easy way out as a parent, like, do what I told you to do. Like, and so I try to spend a lot of time with our kids, and I'm not the best at it yet, but I'm working on it. Why do I have to brush my teeth? Well, here, let's look up pictures of what happens if you don't brush your teeth. Like, let's look up the side effects of if you don't brush your teeth. Is this the conventional wisdom you want to challenge, or do you want to brush your teeth? Oh, I want to brush my teeth. Like, okay, cool. Like, now it's a conscious choice that you're making because you understand the side effects that come with not brushing your teeth.
Yeah, awareness and decision. I like that. There's no right or wrong, just awareness and decision. If you're aware of the consequences and you still make that choice, that's on you, right?
Good choice.
Yeah, and as long as you're aware, then you know that you can always choose something different.
Yeah,
as well.
And if you make the wrong choice, you can still get dentures. It's not the end of the world, but it's not going to be pleasant.
No. You've said that your mission is to empower future generations to live with authenticity and choice. Mm-hmm. besides what we just talked about, how are you showing up for your kids to live with authenticity and choice?
Man, so many ways. Like a great example is the ranch. My daughter wanted goats. I didn't want goats because goats just eat the crap out of grass and will eat it to the dirt. And she wanted goats. I was like, okay, cool, let's get goats. She wanted a pot-bellied pig, a miniature pot-bellied pig. And I was like, well, I don't know anything about pigs. So we got a pig, and she didn't like that it was black and pink, not all pink. And then there was an opportunity to get a new pig. And so I was like, Rylan, what color pig do you want? She's like, I want a pink pig. I'm like, okay, cool, let's get a pink pig. I tried to, and probably one of my weaknesses as a parent is I try to give my kids a bunch of choices. So I'm like, do you want to do this or do you want to do that? And then they inevitably say, like, I don't want either of those things. Like, okay, well, then what do you want, right? So I'm always trying to, like, give them the power to make their own choices. And I also, like, try to always remind them that we're very fortunate to be living the life we're living. And it's not guaranteed, and we're not going to take it for granted, but we're going to enjoy and be grateful for it in every moment that we have. And I try to show them that, like, the impossible, like, I can't comprehend it is truly possible if you put your mind to it, and, like, expose them to really cool things. Like my son, last summer, he would have just turned 3, and he was at a 4th of July parade, and there was kids driving these dirt bikes, and he came home and he's like, Dad, I want a dirt bike. I'm like, okay, buddy, you don't know how to ride a bike. Like, we got to get on a bike first. I mean, the kid freaking started riding a bike that day. Like, got on the bike, relentlessly pursued the bike. And I said, as soon as you can ride a bike, I'll buy you a dirt bike. So the next day I literally had to go buy him one of these electric dirt bikes because he rode a bike.
Yeah.
And my wife's like, what are you doing? Or my in-laws like, what are you doing? You're crazy. Like, you're going to let him. I'm like, I told him, you need to do this, then you can have this. And he did it. Like, that's incredible. He's riding a bike. Like, let's get him the dirt bikes. Now he's riding the dirt bike. Like, so
Yeah.
I just show him those things.
Yeah, but that's interesting. Everyone's like, you're crazy for getting a dirt bike. But you're like, well, he just did something amazing. I just said, if you go learn how to ride a bike, I will go get you this. And he literally went out that day and did it because that's who he is. And he decided, like, he literally went out and did the thing that he needed to do.
No, I mean,
immediately.
He literally was taking the training wheels off of his bike by himself.
Yeah.
With a wrench. And I was like, well, who am I to stand in this kid's way for what he wants? Like, he wants a dirt bike, get him a damn dirt bike. Like, let's make sure he understands the fundamentals of riding a bike. And obviously, like, not get him a 100cc dirt bike that he can't put his feet down or anything crazy, right? But it's like, he did what he wanted to do, and he needs to understand that life will reward you when you do what you want to do.
That's right. Well, I want to ask about your podcast.
Yeah.
Why did you decide to start a podcast now?
I was having so many cool, authentic, vulnerable conversations with so many cool people, but I was doing it in an echo chamber. It was just me and them. And I felt as though, like, I'm not doing their story or our conversation justice, and I'm not doing society and the people that need to hear it justice. And I was like, well, what if we just started having these really cool conversations on the podcast? So, like, it's just bold ideas, honest conversations. We don't really, when I bring guests in to do the interviews, we don't say, okay, we're going to start the podcast now or let's get going. We do what we just did here. Let's just roll right into it and just flow with the conversation. And it's us just having really deep, meaningful, vulnerable, honest conversations like we do in the GoBundance community and letting people learn about transformation through that. It's like Sahil comes on and talks about, like, the troubles he's had with his sister and the issues he's had, like, resenting her growing up because she was so successful in school. Or it's Hal Elrod coming on and talking about how he wanted to commit suicide while going through cancer and was trying to figure out how to do it so that his kids wouldn't know it was suicide, but he wouldn't have to be here anymore. He could just no longer suffer. Like, it's those kinds of conversations that I think we as society need to hear more about because we're all battling those things. It's not like, oh, tell me about your journey. Tell me about how you took your business from 1 million to 10 million. Like, you're a hero. Awesome. Great job. It's like, tell me about how much you hated your life when you were doing that. What was the thing that drove you nuts? What kept you up at night? Why did it keep you? Like, those are the conversations I think the world needs to hear more of. And I'm just super fortunate and blessed to have those conversations very frequently. But it was just me having those conversations, and I just felt like that was selfish. I needed to open it up to the world. So I was like, let's just do a podcast.
Yeah. My mentor says that your purpose is on the other side of your greatest pain that you've ever experienced. And for me, I mean, I'm sure there's a lot in my life, but the most recent and the most impactful that I've had is going through my entrepreneurial journey. Me and my wife together doing it and getting so burned out and like feeling lost and hopeless. And so now I do feel a lot of responsibility to go help others uncover their true purpose and their true path and at least be aware of how difficult this can be. Not to dissuade anybody, but more so to point them into the direction of their superpower, right? Don't do the thing just because someone told you. Go try it. But like you said, you can also change your mind and like go find your life of ease, whatever that life of ease is for you in this entrepreneurial journey. But just because maybe you got good at something doesn't mean that that's the thing that you have to stick to forever. And you can shed your skin, you can unwind, you can do all that. And so I think you and I are on a similar mission with the conversations that we're trying to have. And that's why I wanted to reach out and come out here today. Dude, I'm so thankful to be out here and in this space, and that you invited us out here to film in your studio. This is great. It's inspiring for me. So
it's awesome.
Is there anything else that you want to hit on, or where can people get in touch with you or connect with you? How do they join GoBundance?
Yeah, so just go to GoBundance.com. You'll have all the information, and you can go through the application process. We have different tiers of membership based on financial criteria, and it's not because one group is better than the other. It's because the conversations are different at the different levels. For me, the podcast is the Matt King Show. On social media, it's mattking.atx. Ironically, there's a lot of Matt Kings in the world. It's not that unique of a name, unfortunately, so we had to make it unique in a way. And if you're ever coming through Austin, man, I welcome anybody to come out to the ranch. Like this is not mine. This is for people to come and experience and to come have really cool conversations and memories. And I'm happy to have anybody be a guest at any time. And, you can see miniature Scottish Highlands and longhorns and zebras and miniature pigs and goats and chickens and chicks and donkeys. And I think that's all we have for now. But it's just about creating memories and making the extraordinary ordinary on a daily basis.
Yeah. I think as I've been going around, I'm noticing that more people want a sense of connection, and they want it at places like this ranch or out in nature. And that's what I'm desiring to create for other people. But I think what you're doing is great. I appreciate being out here. And as always, everybody, I appreciate all of you. I love all of you. This has been For Your Own Good.